Hello, welcome to the video. I just sold another 500 million of Shiba Inu. So the price, as you can see here, is roughly 3,500, and my initial plan was to sell 500 million at 2,000, which I did, and then the second step, which is to sell at 3,000 another 500 million, and 400,000 another 500 million, so on and so forth. But I did not sell at 300,000. I decided to make a sell right now, which is 3,500. It's roughly 10% more than what I would have made from my initial plan. So as you can see here, for Shiba Inu, it went up. I think the highest was let's see. So as you can see, just 2 days ago, March 4th, you can see the price raised up to 4,500, and you can see it drops back to 3,500 right now. And many of you will ask me, why didn't you sell at 4,500? Why did you decide to sell when it goes back down? And the reason is very simple. Okay, nobody will be able to time the market. You just have to learn how to take profit along the way. If you see the trend isn't going in your favor, of course you're going to make a sell. And the reason for the sell is to lower your risk. It's not just about how much you're going to be making from one particular trade. There are things other than that. You want to lower your risk, because the more you invested into your investment, the higher risk that you're going to take when it shrinks, let's say 20% or 30%. And what I mean by that is, as you can see, the highest point was 45,000, right? But the lowest when it dips was, as you can see here, it's 2,800. So from 45 to 2,800, that's a roughly 40% dip. So let me just break this down for you. If you have $100,000 in Shiba Inu currently, a 40% dip will shrink down your portfolio from $100,000 to $60,000, and that's a very big deal. Okay, that's a very big deal. People always look at the price point, but they never think about it. When it dips, what are you gonna do about it? Because most people, when they see their portfolio went from 100,000 all the way back down to 60 grand, they're gonna freak out. They're like, I'm ready for a sell. It's a very common mistake that people make. Well, it's not really a mistake. It's just human nature. Like when you see something goes down, you want to sell because you fear about a potential loss larger than what you already occurred. But most of the time, when the loss already occurred, that's probably most likely the bottom. Like I would say, give you a range from 10 to 20%. That's about it. Like as you can see, if the lowest point was at 2,800, right, and then you saw a dip, let's say at like 3,500, and it might not be the lowest point that you see, but once it dips more, it's going to be usually less than 20% once you find out, oh, there's already a dip from 4,500 to 3,500. And it's very common. Like most people make the mistake. Well, I guess I shouldn't call it a mistake. It's just they run into issues like this. Let's put it that way. And my plan initially, 2,000. I'm going to sell 500 millions, which I did. I was a little short, so I was a few $100s short. I was supposed to take out 10 grand, but I was only ended up with 9,500, which I'm okay with, because I know at that point, my risk level is going to be super low after I made that trade. And then again, after this trade, I sold another 500 million at 3,500, and this price could go up, and it could go down. But if it goes up, let's say to 5,000, okay, I still have, as you can see, my total balance, I still have 2 billion Shiba Inu in my portfolio. So in that particular case, it's already moved some of my principles or some of my tokens. I cashed them out, right? You have to realize this. You can own, let's say, $1 million worth of Shiba Inu, okay? And when you don't sell, it's not real. It's not real. And what I mean by that is, doesn't matter how many tokens you hold in your portfolio, if you don't make a sell and you don't deposit that money that you got from selling the token, then it's not real, okay? Because it can shrink dramatically. A 40% dip, which you don't normally see on major cryptos like Bitcoin or Ethereum. If they go down by like 5 to 10%, maybe 15 at max. But if you are investing into something like Shiba Inu or other meme coins like Doge, Shiba, and then there are a bunch of others, Cardano, right? You see a 40% dip. It's very common. And sometimes there could be 60% or 70%. And the only thing that you can do in cases like that, you have to take profits along the way. You can be, let's say I didn't sell at 200,000, right? And then people will be like, oh, you could just sell 1 billion at 3,500. No, that's not how it works. And the reason why is when you reach 2,000, if I didn't sell, if it dips back to 1,000, what are you going to do at that case? The option would be very limited if you didn't cash out at 2,000. And the same thing here. The highest point we have reached Shiba Inu this year is 45,000. And it's the same ideology. People say, why didn't you just sell at 45,000 or possibly 40,000? Oh, no, sorry, not 40,000, 4,000. Why did you decide to sell at 3,500? It's the same old story, because you have to spread your risk along the way. You have to sell periodically or by the price mark. Whatever that you said initially, you can't be fooled by the current price. The current price can be, you can kill another zero, but you got to be realistic along the way. For Shiba Inu to kill at zero, that means you have to sell your token along the way. You can't be someone who claims himself as diamond hand. And what's diamond hand? If you don't know, meaning you buy into an investment, you hold it forever, you never sell, that's diamond hand. But is it realistic? Probably. If you invest into Bitcoin, I would say so. But for coins like Shiba Inu, if you're doing diamond hand on Shiba Inu, I really don't know if that's going to play out for you or not. Because if you invest into Bitcoin, let's say you invest into Bitcoin, let's say $1,000 a week, every single week since the highest point back in 2021, you will be generating almost 200% return already up until now, okay? But if you bought in Shiba Inu back in 2021 November, you are never going to make it back until now, or maybe later this year or beginning of next year, but you're still in the loss, okay? You need to understand that, because Shiba Inu, it's still far away from its all-time high, which is 8,600, I believe, or maybe 8,400, but it's in the 8,000 level. It takes so much more time for a meme coin to reach its all-time high compared to major coins, let's say Bitcoin or Ethereum. It's very different, and the strategy that you have to use trading meme coins will be significantly different compared to a Bitcoin or Ethereum, the top tier cryptos. So you have to modify them along the way. And the other thing I want to show you is you can see my portfolio along the way in 1 year, okay? It's not just overnight success. I have been buying Shiba Inu since 2021, and you can see, I can show you the trade, right? The first time I bought Shiba Inu back then in November 2021, I know it's a long time ago, it's almost 3 years ago. I bought in, look at the price that I bought in. My initial buy was at 4,900. Okay, but I kept buying along the way. I was able to reach 3 billion, which I came up with a plan. I said I'm gonna sell 500 million at 2,000, another 500 million at 3,000, which I was able to secure another additional 10% on top of the 3,000 selling point, which for me, it was a good trade. Okay, for you, I don't know your situation, so I can't really tell, but speaking for myself, it was a good trade for me, and I think it's well worth it. And you can see it just in the, Sally can show you the weekly chart, but as you can see, the highest point I reached was 100,000, but we should be a little higher. I think the highest I have seen in my portfolio was 110,000. So as of right now, it's 93,000. So it shrink down about 20% already, but it's not for everyone. I want to make it clear, it's not for everyone. If you are someone who isn't used to a 30, 40, or even 50, 60, 70%, 80% loss, then sure, you don't deserve a 200%, 400%, or even 600% return, because you always goes both ways. You can't take the loss, then you can't take the win. You have to be patient along the way, and then you have to follow your initial plan. You cannot be fooled by the current market price, because that doesn't mean anything. That doesn't mean anything. And for a token like Shiba Inu, and for all the meme coins that you are trading, you have to follow your plan along the way. You can't be fooled by the current price, the current market price. Okay? And the next time I make a sell, which I'm not sure when, but I will keep you posted. And that will be it for this one. I will see you in the next one.